Welcome back, Colonels. So today I kind of wanted to do a bit of a different video. This is going to be a more Kang-centered video and just talking about what happened, what's going on with him, and where we kind of know the Marvel Universe is heading, like in the direction that it's headed now. So real quick before we dive in, if you are new here, consider subscribing so you don't miss any other Marvel reactions, news, or just discussions like this one. Let's dive in. The biggest thing that I wanted to talk about, I see a lot of people talking about, like, listen, am I excited for Dr. Doom? Absolutely. He's a great villain. I even will go as far as to say that I am excited to see RDJ be him. I think that it's a decent casting. I know people are, like, all weird about, like, the Iron Man thing. I actually don't feel too weird about it. I have a lot of faith in RDJ. Being that he was the face of the MCU for a long time, I think it's very fitting for him to also be like a villain, like if they're gonna do it. Keep in mind, you know, obviously he'll look way different. He's much older now. There's a lot of other factors, right? But the biggest part that I wanted to talk about here was our other villain that we were supposed to have, which is Kang. Now, if you don't know what happened, Jonathan Majors, basically, what I know, there was footage of him and his ex-girlfriend now, where she was like hitting him or pushing him or something of that sort, putting physical contact on him, and he was trying to get away from her, and he pushed her into the limo, and I believe he was kind of got some kind of charge for that. They took him to court and everything. What ended up happening was that he had no actual charge. So much, in fact, that now studios are starting to kind of bring him back. Nothing big, but, you know, Disney and Marvel has kind of decided to not really bring him back. Ever since that happened, they've kind of been like, well, I don't think we really want him around. Which, personally, I think is kind of dumb. Because there are actors and actresses who have done way worse who still get to be in their movies. I don't think it's right, personally. Talking about it from a extremely not that kind of perspective, just from a story perspective, I've seen a lot of people talking about like, oh, I'm so glad Kang's gone, he wasn't a good thing for the story, and I am here to talk about exactly why I think that is not the case. I was actually really looking forward to him in the MCU, and of course Doom, but I didn't want Doom this early. I think that the story that they were setting up through Loki and through everything else was really good for Kang. So I just kind of want to talk about a few points here and just kind of talk about it with you guys. First thing that I see constantly brought up is, well, Kang wasn't even a menacing villain. He got killed by ants. That is not even remotely true. First of all, he never gets killed by the ants. And they very much downsized that statement to making it seem like they're just regular, ordinary ants, right? I'll show the footage here. If you look at the ants, each of those ants, do you guys remember those creatures that we saw in Infinity War that the Black Order and Thanos kind of let out against the Avengers? Each of those ants is probably the size of one of those creatures, if not a little bigger, with thousands of, like it's talked about in the movie, thousands of years of evolution. We watch all of those ants come in with, some of them have turrets. I mean, they are just massive beings in the quantum realm. Massive beings. Which, by the way, total side point, one of my favorite moments for Hank Pym in the Ant-Man series. I think it's such a Hank Pym kind of moment. It was easily one of my favorite moments of that entire film. I also know that a lot of people don't like Quantumania that much. I actually I'm a bit of a Quantumania defender. I don't quite get the hate, which is kind of why I'm making this video a little bit. Like, again, Kang gets defeated by these ants. Well, no, he actually doesn't. He puts that force field around himself, and he's fine. Like, the ants never break through his shield. He uses that, like, projection thing to keep pushing them off. What ends up happening is that MODOK breaks the shield, and I think a lot of people forget about that. They're so quick to dismiss the fact that the ants came up, but the ants never really defeated Kang. It was MODOK, and then, you know, even so, Kang ends up coming back at the very end of the movie. Another thing that, like, people talk about is, well, okay, well, you know, Kang is supposed to be our next big bad, and, you know, he's nowhere near as powerful as Thanos. I would argue that if you take Thanos without his Infinity Stones, and the reason I use that comparison is, again, one of my other points. The whole point of Kang being in the quantum realm is that he does not have access to time. It's essentially Thanos without having his Infinity Stones or an entire army, right? Kang's main weapon of choice is time. He uses time to do all of the things that he does. When you try to say that Kang couldn't take on those ants, I think Thanos would have died just as easily to those ants as Kang would have. If I'm being totally honest, I think Kang had a better chance of surviving those ants because of the technology that he has. Thanos is a strong, very strong, intelligent villain. If you put an army like that against just him, no, it's not happening. I'm gonna show the clip. It's not just a bunch of small ants. They're huge, intelligent beings, right? And even Kang can kind of defend himself from those. At least for a little while, right? And even so, when they do get him, he does not die. He comes back way later. Moving into one of my other final points, even by the end of this movie, after everything that's happened to him, he still almost gets what he wants. He gets back to the room where he was trying to get to. He finds Scott, beats him to a pulp. I mean, like, just straight up is like beating on him. And almost gets through to where he wanted. And Kang is that kind of villain where he doesn't care about, he just wants what he wants. He doesn't really die per se. We don't really know what happens to him. We just know that he gets hit into like the little time electrical field thing and ends up like evaporating. But we don't know that he's dead. In fact, I would be willing to bet that he wasn't dead. And that Marvel was going to bring him back in some way. That was really what this video was about. I just wanted to talk about Kang a little bit. I really, really loved Jonathan Majors as Kang, especially in like the Loki series and just seeing him really manipulate time there. I think that Kang had the potential to be one of the best MCU villains. And I kind of get a little tired of seeing people kind of downplay what he was in the MCU. And I think it's just a matter of people forget what actually happened in Quantumania. My main point is that I really wish they wouldn't have gotten rid of Kang in the MCU. I just think, you know, if people went back and watched the movie a little bit more, look at that, what actually happened to Kang, it's just a really bad kind of circumstantial kind of thing. He's still a really solid villain for me. I love his rage. I love his complete chaos. Especially the one clip I always talk about is when they show the flashback of Janet. And he just like lets this like rage of like power and like it's like a giant explosion. I love those moments because he's so different from Thanos. He's powerful, he's angry, and he's so at war with all the other versions of him that he just erupts into like chaos, anger-fueled madness, and I love it. So yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think about this kind of whole thing moving on with Doctor Doom and getting rid of Kang. I want to know how you feel about it down in the comments below. Again, you guys kind of know how I feel about it now, but let me know what you guys think about it and just what you're hoping to see from the MCU moving forward. Till then, guys, peace.